Hey you guys, so this was recorded on March 1st. It was a super windy day today, so I'm doing a voiceover instead. I had bought 5 bags of in-ground soil from Costco to help fill in the expanded garden bed so that it can almost be leveled with the original bed in the front. And yeah, so I had my husband go to Growers Outlet for me and pick up additional plants. And this is the Show Off Sugar Baby Forsythia. It is a 3-gallon container that I got for $28. It is a perennial in zone 5A to 8B. It will get 1.5 to 2.5 feet tall and 2 feet to 3 feet wide. The plant next to it is the dwarf trailing gardenia, I think radicans. It is excellent for low borders or ground cover. It is good for in the full to part sun. It gets 6 to 12 inches tall and 2 to 3 feet wide. It is a shrub, it's an evergreen, and it is a perennial in zone 7 through 9. These 3 are the Georgia Speedwell or Veronica. And this right here is the Elijah's Blue Fescue. They're 5-inch containers. We got 4 of them for $10. It's an evergreen for us. It is a perennial in zones 4 through 8. It will get 8 to 12 inches tall and wide. And this is the Candy Tough called Purity. They're 5-inch containers. They're 3 for $10, and it's perennial in zone 5 through 9. And here I am emptying the in-ground garden soil. Before I start planting, I'm trying to evenly distribute them out well. It's a windy day today, so I was trying to keep everything organized and keeping the bags from flying away as well. So you guys can see there, the bag is just flapping around. Here I am trying to level it out. And I'm going to place these plants and see which location the plants should be planted. I'm just trying to arrange them around first before I commit to digging the holes for them. That's the Show Off Sugar Baby Forsythia. I think that's a good spot for it. I want it to kind of be in the middle. I was thinking about grouping all of the sedums together, but I didn't want them to just be a group by themselves. So originally I was going to put them all together as one grouping of each kind, of each variety. But then after I arranged them, I realized I wanted them to be separated out, like every other spot would have a sedum. And then I wanted to have the other ground covers to go in between them as well. Like for instance, the Georgia Blue Speedwell or Veronica. Since they get pretty wide, I wanted them to be out and the sedums to be in between them. I wanted all the sedums to be on the back so that when I place the rocks over the edge of the border, I wanted the sedums to spill over onto the rocks to kind of help hold the rocks in place and keep the weeds out as well. So those are the, what are they? Those are the Candy Tough, the white one with the white flowers. And the one I'm holding in my hand right now is the Sun Sparkler Angelina's Teacup Sedum. Oh, no, no, no. That one actually is the guara. That is the dwarf passionate rainbow butterfly whirl guara. That's a mouthful. And that one right there is the ascot rainbow euphorbia. And those are the Elijah's blue fescue. So I'm grouping those four together near each other. And next to the guara, the dwarf guara. So I'm going to place one of the trailing gardenia in this garden bed by the mailbox, while the other one's going to go to the crepe myrtle garden bed on the opposite side. So those two are the Sun Sparkler Angelina's teacup sedum. One on the corner, and I ended up moving it later to somewhere else. I was putting it too close on the in there when I already had another sedum there. Those are the lemon coral sedum. Again, putting them too close together, so I know they're going to get wider. So I'm going to end up splitting those apart, dividing them. Again, these are just placement for now because I just wanted to see what they will look like before I put them in the ground. And those are the blue spruce sedum. And that is the other trailing gardenia. I'm going to go ahead and place that where I want to plant them. And now I'm going to go ahead and start augering all of the holes, so that ways I can be as efficient as possible. And the sedums aren't being dug very deep at all because I don't want them to get rotted out by the heavy clay soil anyways. And that little area there is very rocky, so I ran into several rocks. And I'm placing the containers back into the hole. That ways I won't forget exactly where where they need to be planted, in which spot. I am speeding it up here just so that this video isn't going to be 3 hours long. I don't think you guys want to see every single detail because that will make the video that much longer. And it's already going to be more than half an hour long for this one. So I'm trying to keep all my videos under an hour if possible. And of course, I always end up finding some weeds as I'm augering them. And that's Daisy there. She likes to be outside with me when I'm gardening, so I have to keep an eye on her since she likes to be near the streets. I need to watch out for her too, just in case I don't step on her paws or something, since she always likes to be so close by. Again, I'm just looking around to see. Yep, I've moved the one of the sedums to be closer to the other corner by the driveway. That's our postal service lady. And as many holes as I augured, I still left out one hole that I didn't dig. But that's okay. That's what the auger is there for. Makes my job a lot easier. Because I surely don't like digging with the shovel, especially with our red clay or Georgia clay. Okay, there we go. Now the first one in is the lemon coral sedum. I thought it was a little big. I knew it was going to grow, but as I put it in the ground, I realized that I wanted to divide it. So that way I can get another coral sedum on the left of it, right there near Daisy where she's at. So when it grows, it'll grow together as it spreads. There I am, dividing it. You can see how windy it is. Look at Daisy's hair. And thank goodness my hat had a tie so that I could tighten it up, or else that would have blown off of my head as well. And since I divided that sedum, I need to have another hole. And I thought I was going to use my trowel. I figured it was just easier to get my auger since I wanted the hole to be fluffy, the soil to be fluffy. There goes the wind blowing another container away. I always get distracted with pulling weeds while I'm planting. So my idea was to put all of the sedums in first on the back side of the garden bed. Yep, pulling weeds. I have to remind myself that I need to set time aside to pull weeds and then just to plant and get it out of the way. Get all the plants in, then I can come back and do weeds later. But no, I get easily distracted and I see a weed and I gotta pull it. That right there is the blue spruce sedum. That gets 8 inches tall and up to 20 inches wide. And my markers, I had a marker for each one of them because I'm not very good with remembering what plants are in what location. I have a general idea, but to know the specific name, oh gosh, I'm horrible at that. There goes another blue spruce sedum, or sedum blue spruce. I guess blue spruce sedum, same thing. Just patting them around to get the air pocket out. Of course, add my label back in again. That should be the last. No, I don't know. I don't think that's the last sedum, but I'm dividing this lemon sedum as well, since again I want to get more bang for my buck, more for my money. And I should have used my hori knife and just cut it right down the center, but I just used my hands and just try to split them as evenly as I could. That car is going by too fast. I tell you, we live at the top of the hill, a slight hill, so people just gun it right there. And we have signs that says children and pets at play, slow down, but nope, they don't pay attention. That car was okay, but the previous one was going really fast. So here is the other Sun Sparkler Angelina's teacup that I just put earlier. I moved it from the corner over there. Since I realized I didn't want too many of the sedums on that corner, since I knew they were going to spread, so I decided to move them. And there goes the last one. Last sedum is going in. There's my tag. And these are being planted a little bit higher because as the rain comes, I don't want it to be, totally saturated in water. So roots will rot if it just sits in water. So I'm putting them a little bit higher. They look like they're low, but they're not. They're actually higher. And there goes my Georgia Blue Speedwell or Veronica. I am taking all the plants out of the hole. I'm doing that because I'm going to add in my biotone for these other perennials. I didn't put any biotones in the hole for the sedums, since I was told that they don't really like too much fertilizers, so I didn't add them in for that reason. I know the other types of sedum, like the August Joy or something like that, they don't like fertilizers because they'll just flop over. So I'm not sure about these ground cover sedum, if they like fertilizers or not. So I just opted out of not putting them in just to be safe. So I don't know if you guys can see from on the screen or not. You can see that the wind is blowing pretty hard and the biotone is being pushed away from me by the wind. All the small dust particles. So I'm glad I'm standing that way, so that way it's not blowing back into my face. But the biotone is great for the plants because it really helps with the root developments. And since I'm putting these in from the containers, doing this to help them with their root expansions and getting them situated in the ground. Now, it was a sunny day that day, but unfortunately it's just very, very windy. So I'm putting all the rest of the plants that's closest to the sedums. Yep, there goes my container. Had to grab it before it gets blown away further away from me and I have to chase it down. Have you guys ever had this issue where it's so windy things are being blown all over the place? Do you see the gardenia? The leaves and the branches are just swaying in the wind because of the wind. That is the what is it? The white one. Candy Tuft, that's it. I blanked out there for a moment, but it is the Candy Tuft. And right now I am putting in the guara along with the Elijah's Blues fescue. So the guara is dwarf guara. And you only need to cut it back for it to get a fuller look after it flowers. And then it'll give you another flush of flowers. Oh, there goes another container. So I'm just trying to pat down the soil after I plant each plant to get some of that air out again. Boy, I tell you, if you guys don't have an auger, and if you can save up and get one, it is a time saver. It really helps out a lot if you're doing a lot of planting. Now, if you're only doing just a few plantings here and there, then you don't need to have an auger. Just a shovel will do fine. And you can use your shovel to break up that soil, the clay. But it's been really, really helpful with my gardening. Now I am putting in the Show Off Sugar Baby forsythia. I think putting it at the center of the garden bed was the perfect location for it because I want it to be the star of that garden bed when it does bloom. And it's already got some flowers on it already. And that is the Ascot Rainbow Euphorbia. I already have two by the side, by the curb, right by the mailbox, and I put two next to each other, so it might be too close together. I might end up having to move that and separating it out a little bit. But I only bought one here to put on the back side of the garden bed. Again, I'm trying to get the air pocket out. That is another candy tuft. Purity. That's the variety it is, Candy Tuft Purity. I wanted Snow Mountain or Snowdrop or something, but they didn't have it. So my husband said, this is what they have, and I said, I'll take it. They were 3 for $10 for 5-inch containers. That right there is the Georgia Blue Veronicas or Speedwell. And that will get pretty wide. I think that gets up to like 2 to 3 feet wide. I have one in Hayden's garden, a few actually in Hayden's garden, and it does really well there too. There's the trailing gardenia. I need it to make it a little bit deeper, so I'm taking some extra soil out. I'm just knocking back on the container so that way I can easily pull it out. It is just positioning it in the direction I want it to be. So that plant right there next to me, that is the Purple Pixie Loropetalum. That one's doing okay there. I mean, it's not the greatest, but it's doing okay. I think it needs a little bit more shade. I have to look that up. I might have to move that because the one on the other side in the crepe myrtle bed, that one is not doing well at all. It's actually on the struggle bus. Okay, that is the last Georgia Blue Veronica or Speedwell that I'm putting in the ground. So I'm just lightly tamping down the soil to get rid of the air pocket again. There we go. Now I'm crossing over to the other side of the garden bed. I've got to auger the hole for the other trailing gardenia. Now because of that crepe myrtle, it sends out a lot of runners underneath. And there's a lot of roots too. And every time I hit a root or roots, it always keeps sending out runners. And I'm constantly fighting and digging up these runners to keep from having new plants coming up. Because I only want that one crepe myrtle there. I don't want any other. So I did hit a few roots. So I'm sure this weekend I'll see some new shoots coming out. So I hope that gardenia is doing well on that side, because there was a spirea that's next to it that I planted over a year ago, and that one died. Probably because I didn't water it regularly, but or it could be because of the roots from the crepe myrtle that was probably interfering with its root development. Okay. Now we are back over on this side, the mailbox garden bed side. I am saving these 2 empty containers here from the other plants that I had from the trailing gardenia. I'm going to use them to hold my peonies that I'm going to dig up from Hayden's garden. And here we are in Hayden's garden bed. That right there is the Festiva Maxima peony. I'm going to try to dig as big of a root ball as I possibly can. I planted it almost 4 years ago, but it never flowered for me. And it's probably because it's too shaded in this area here. And while I was trying to dig up the root ball for the Festiva Maxima, I actually saw some other roots there as well. And I think those roots probably belong to the Desdemona David Austin rose that I had planted there, which I had transplanted to the island garden bed by the driveway a few weeks ago. I knew I didn't get all the roots from the rose because I saw that I had chopped up some of the roots off. So that's what I assume is some of the roots there that I am pulling up was probably or most likely from the Desdemona David Austin rose that I had transplanted and transferred over to the island garden bed. But I tried my best to get as large of a root ball as possible. See that right there? I don't think that's part of the peony's roots. But I brought it with me anyways, just in case, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it yet. Now in that garden bed, there are 2 fruit trees. There's 3 actually. 1 pear tree, and then also a plum and peach tree, which was grafted together as one. And the neighbor had some kind of tree that has these big leaf pods that it drops in the fall. So when they all leaf out, this whole area there is very shaded. It gets dappled morning sun. That's about it. And it's because of the side where the trees are, it doesn't get much sun at all. So that's why these peonies haven't been blooming for me. So that's why I am moving them and transplanting them to the mailbox garden bed. That is the first Cherry Hill peony right there in that container. Got to rearrange all the soil back in. Now the second Cherry Hill peony, I had to dig up the pink scabiosa that I just recently planted a week ago, because the root ball was a little bit wider, and I could tell when I started digging that the roots was going all the way to where the scabiosa was. So it was best for me to dig up the scabiosa first and then start working on the root ball for the Cherry Hill peony, to try to get as much roots as possible. And what's funny is the name Cherry Hill. I used to live in a neighborhood. I grew up in a neighborhood called Cherry Hills in College Park. So I thought that was funny when I bought the Cherry Hill peony and planted them in Hayden's garden. Some things just have more meanings to them than you really think until, you think about it and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is where I grew up. So yeah, there's a bunch of ajuga that's attached to the top of the root ball. And I wasn't sure if they're going to survive or not in the mailbox garden bed area, because it's too sunny over there. It just gets full sun. So I'm just going to place everything back in, put the scabiosa back in, and the drip irrigation for that area as well. Once I have everything in place, I am going to move my root balls back to the front of the garden bed, which is the mailbox area. So I've got 3 plants. I've got 1 Festiva Maxima and 2 Cherry Hills peony. Here we are. We're back at the front mailbox garden bed area, and I get distracted with weeds again. But I am going to auger 3 shallow holes, but I do want them to be wider than they are deep, because we're in zone 8B and peonies do not like to be buried deep at all in order for them to flower. So I'm just augering it wide enough to get the soil to be fluffy, and again encourage for the roots to grow and for the health of the plant. Look at that. Look how windy that is. And here's the last hole. Now these peonies have already started sending out shoots from the eyes, so I know where the eyes are at. I'm able to see it much better since they're already starting to come up. I'm adding my biotone. And the first 2 that I'm going to plant side by side, well, not side by side, but close to each other. One is on the opposite side of the forsythia, where the forsythia is going to be in the center. There's my first root ball. Now, I think I split this one up. Yeah, this is the one that I split up, because there were like several eyes that had came up, and it looks like it was time to divide them anyways. So since I've already had them in the ground for almost 4 years, it was time to divide them. I just set them out just a little bit farther apart from each other, but still in the same hole, just a little bit wider from the original root ball. And again, they're not in that deep at all. The eyes is just an inch below the soil surface. And here is the second one for Cherry Hill. There is a root that I had cut off accidentally, so I'm hoping that will develop into something. I'm not sure if it will or not, but I'm hopeful. It's okay. If it doesn't, I've got one big root ball there that should be doing fine. So this one, I don't think I divided this one. I think I kept this one whole the way I had dug it up from Hayden's garden. I was thinking about dividing them, but then as I was trying to pry them apart, I realized I was like, you know what? I'm not very good at dividing these things, so it's probably best, since they weren't coming apart that easily like the other one, I'm just going to keep them together. Yeah, that one did stay together. There we go. Got that one in, and now I'm going to work on the very last one, which is the Festiva Maxima. It's a white peony with a pink liner on the, I don't know if it's on the outer petal or on the inner petal. I can't remember, since it never flowered for me. So we'll see this spring if it will flower. See, that's a big root ball too, and it's wide. And there are some roots. There you go. And again, I think those are from the Desdemona David Austin roses that I had dug up a few weeks ago. I wasn't sure about using them or not. At the end, I decided not to use them and put them into the container and threw them away. See how long that root is? I didn't want it coiling underneath itself, so I want the roots to be as wide as possible. There's another root that I wasn't sure what it belonged to, so that was thrown away as well. And I am done with my planting. Now all I have to do is just water them in. Since we're not expecting any rain in the next few days, this will help settle in the soil as well. Get some of the air pocket out, although I've tamped them down already, but they needed to be watered anyways, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but the water's being pushed onto the driveway there because of the wind. And after I am done with the watering, I will add in the mulch and the rocks back on top of it, and you'll be able to hear me speak on the very end. And you can hear in the background how windy it is and why I think you guys would appreciate me doing this voiceover instead of it being windy the whole entire time while I was planting. I mean, it was so windy it even knocked over my wheelbarrow. And that's it. And you guys will get to see the finished work. Okay, you guys, so here is the finished product of the mailbox garden bed. This is what it looks like. I have added in all the mulch, and you guys saw that I had added in the what is it? The peonies. Yes, peonies. So I have the peonies, and now I've added in the mulch, and I do need to put my rocks on here from there. So I need a cart, and hopefully you guys can hear my voice okay. That is what we have here, as you guys can see. There it is. That is the front garden bed. What do you guys think? There you guys go. And the other side is over here, and I've added the mulch on this side of the garden bed as well. And that's the gardenia right there. I'm working on this garden bed over here and adding the mulch, so I will give you guys a garden tour tomorrow when I'm done adding in all the mulch. Thanks you guys. Have a good night.